Hi, and welcome to Screens and Focus podcast, where we share and connect as we spotlight our favorite shows and movies. I'm Diana, and today we are talking about Fear the Walking Dead Season 8, Episodes 9 and 10. Renee is here to join me. Hi, Renee. How's it going?
Hello. I'm doing pretty good here. I'm a little cold here, but other than that, doing great. How about you?
Good. Actually, we're having our first rain. It's here in California. So yeah, I'm ready for our type of fall.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, right.
I'm good. I'm good with it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Good.
So let's get to our question of the day, which is, which Fear the Walking Dead character is the best survivor?
That was a very good question, and it was tough for me. I had to think about that quite a bit because I was like, well, so-and-so, so-and-so. And then I landed on Victor Strand because I feel he's one of those characters that's always looking out for number one. So right there puts him kind of ahead of the game because he's always going to look out for himself. But he's also not afraid to make those difficult choices. You know, I feel like sometimes he reminds me of Carol from The Walking Dead because he is the one who makes those tough choices.
Right.
And he's not afraid to do them, right or wrong, same with Carol, right or wrong. She's, she does what's best for the moment or whatever. And so I feel like Victor, Carol's a little more compassionate. Victor doesn't usually care who gets hurt, but so that was who I landed on. I mean, there's several of them. I was like, oh, that could be a good person or whatever, but Victor.
So I landed on the same person too, Strand, especially the second half, this last part of the season. He has been so good. And we're going to get into it as we discuss episodes, but he makes me laugh. And then I'm thinking, how did Victor Strand become the voice of reason in all of this, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. But also he keeps reinventing himself, how to live, how to move forward and just doing it and thinking about he was on the original show when it started and he never got killed off even for a little while or thought he was presumed. Well, I guess he could have been presumed dead for a while. But what I mean is, he's never really loved the show. And so I was thinking he is so good at it, but I'm sure you probably came up with the same second person, which is Daniel, because he is, because he's so good too. It's like Daniel, he just makes those decisions and you never really dislike Daniel. Yeah. He makes
I always liked Daniel. Yeah.
He's made some decisions that weren't, the best. He can be a little ruthless at times, but you still understand where he's coming from. And so I thought this was a really interesting question. So I'll be curious to know what anyone listening thinks. So we would love to hear from all of you. You can let us know on X or Instagram or any of our social media at Screens and Focus. All our social media links are on our website at screensandfocus.com. Also in our show notes, because we want to know who you think is the best survivor in Fear the Walking Dead. All right. I think we're okay on news. Do you have any news or are we okay?
Yeah, nothing directly. Now that the strikes are over, there are lots of news coming out like so-and-so's in this, so-and-so's in that type of thing. So I have been writing all those up as many as I can find, as fast as I can, bear with me. But on Undead Walking, you can find those articles there. So I'm trying to showcase that now that everyone's allowed to kind of say some things, like I'm in this, check this out. I've been trying frantically to keep up with those, which I mean, I'm still way behind, but I'm working on it. So, but other than that, I don't think there's any significant Walking Dead universe, announcements or anything at this moment, but we'll see what comes.
Yeah. I was going to say, the strike being over is huge. So huge.
Yeah. Well, Dead City, Jeffrey D. Morgan someone asked him on social media and he said that he's been talking with Lauren and the rest, and they're all getting anxious to get back at it. So hopefully that's soon. So that's just him answering the question. So
they weren't part of the exception, I guess.
No. It was just Daryl and The Ones Who Live. And I don't know why that. I think because maybe they had a lot already done. You know what I mean? The second season of Daryl Dixon had been filming almost a month after first one wrapped. And then The Ones Who Live, believe all they had to do was some like post-production, like maybe voice stuff and things like, you know what I mean? There wasn't a lot left there. So maybe that's why they got the concession for those two. But, you know, Dead City didn't get a chance to start filming or doing anything, you know, maybe written or something. But yeah. So anyway, I would guess that. So hopefully, yeah, we'll hear something soon about Dead City, you know, beginning things. So
yeah. That'll be amazing. Can't wait. All right. So let's dig into Fear the Walking Dead. And before we dig into episodes 9 and 10, I can't even believe that we only have one more week of this and then that's it. So that's kind of crazy to think about too. All right. So in episode 9, entitled Sanctuary, we see that Dwight reunites with Sherry amidst a bunch of chaos, returning home a place laden with painful memories from the Walking Dead series. Dwight faces a fight at the sanctuary that compels him to confront his haunting past, and Sherry's words finally resonate with Dwight and the group, and June steps up for a crucial surgery. Meanwhile, Strand takes action for PADRE's future. So let's start off with Dwight returning home. What did you think of all of that?
Well, initially I was like, wow, this is a really great story. You know, I thought, wow, what are we going to see here when, you know, they're showing the previews and, you know, it's obvious he's at their house, he's at the sanctuary, you know, and things like that. But then all of a sudden here comes Sherry, June, and Dove. And I'm like, what's the point of this then? Why, you know, like I expected to see more of him alone, dealing with this stuff alone, because I mean, yeah, him and Sherry both lived that and they lived, you know, with the saviors, but I just wanted to see more of Dwight dealing with his trauma from it, you know, because I guess that's just what I thought. So then here the three come, which to me, it was almost pointless to have him go off on his own, you know? So I mean, I thought it was interesting how they did everything, you know, and what we saw and like him dealing with it. But I guess I just thought it was kind of premature to have them all right there right away, you know, let him kind of deal with some of this and then maybe they should have came or something.
Right.
So I had mixed feelings on it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I totally hear you. So when Dwight did get there, I thought, yes, this is interesting. He is finally at his home and we were able to see him at his home. Although I thought it was interesting that he sees his picture and then drops it on the ground. But of course, I guess they're trying to portray that his marriage has failed. His relationship with Sherry has failed. I thought it was the fact that that stranger happens upon them and he has the same issues and Dwight's wondering, oh, did someone set me up because this is so bizarre? It feels like my life is in deja vu, Groundhog Day. I don't know what, but this is repeating itself. So I thought that could have been a good concept, but I don't know. I'm with you on if it really played out the way it should have. I mean, yes, he goes. What's interesting about all of this, though, is that he goes back but he ends up helping somebody, even though I don't think that was his intention. But is it because that's his true nature to try and help somebody of the type of person he really wants to be? I'm not sure. Also, I didn't quite understand that stranger coming to him. I couldn't even understand what he was saying a lot of the time. So I had trouble hearing a lot of the characters. I also had trouble hearing what Dove was saying. I had to replay it, rewind it and replay it a couple of times. I thought, why can't I understand these characters and what they're saying? But back to Dwight returning home. Yeah. I'm glad. I don't know if they just wanted it for full circle to say, look, this is where Dwight began. This is his beginning. We want to bring him back here, just like they did with Morgan when Morgan came back to his house and now Dwight is coming back. And then I'm thinking the fact that you came back and then they followed you here, how far away are they? I'm still not sure of everybody's location.
Yeah, I don't understand how it's been so quick to go back and forth.
Exactly. I'm not sure about that part either. But to see Dwight go back to the sanctuary, for us to see the sanctuary and what it looks like now, you know, I liked seeing, and I was hearing that for them to recreate it, it was a big task because they had to recreate the whole set.
Yeah.
And I know that the actors had said it was very cool to see that and how it did look like the original set to them. So, but at the same time, I mean, I know it's been a lot of years now, but it was some in shambles because later on we see how it's falling apart. Also, we got to see Dwight going through these flashbacks of when he does get in to get the insulin and fighting with this guy who catches him stealing from them, even though they originally stole from this guy that needed his insulin. You know, and Dwight's face and just having all of that again.
Yeah. And another thing I was going to say was that, you know, I feel like Fear the Walking Dead has a lot of good beginnings to a storyline, but then it kind of, there's no follow through, you know? So like, you know, this would have been an opportune time to have Dwight go to the Commonwealth or, you know, or something, you know what I mean? Something. Him and Sherry have decided, okay, we can't be together, this and this and that. You know what I mean? It's like they're just, you know, back and forth all the time. But why not use this as a more, I don't know, there's just a lot more potential there that I feel like was wasted. That if he was all the way this far, you know, why wouldn't he? I mean, I understand he doesn't know about the Commonwealth, but he would have traveled to Alexandria or somewhere and found something out and got, you know what I mean? And I know that's a long kind of convoluted story kind of thing, but at the same time, there was just lost potential, I guess, you know, but it was, I agree. I love that it was really cool because the last time we saw Sanctuary was when Negan went after he escaped, he went and it was empty. And so, you know, it was cool, like you said, to go this forward, this many more years and see it in shambles, but also it looked a lot like when Negan was there with the walkers on the fence and this and the fire and the, you know, it was very interesting for sure. But I just feel like they could have done a lot more with this.
Yeah. When you had said, why didn't he go somewhere else? And of course, we know then that might have brought in other characters and how would they really have played that out. But I did think about that myself because wouldn't you be curious? It's like you're finally here. Aren't you curious if people have survived or not survived? I would want to know, like, did they make it or did they not? Like, what does their place look like now? So I don't know. Yeah.
It could have tied into Daryl Dixon because Carol says, who's back? Or, you know, someone's returned.
I know, right?
They could have just fit that storyline very easily in there. But
yeah. All right. So let's talk about, well, Sherry and June and Dove, you know, come find him because he returns back to his house ready to tell the guy, look, I got your insulin for you. And of course, the guy comes out as a walker. I didn't understand that part at first either. It took me a minute to understand what had happened. I thought, oh, wait, the guy died and then he's already turned into a walker. These people turn so quickly. And I know it just depends, but I've noticed that they turn, a lot of them turn a lot quicker than they have in the past because sometimes it would take a little bit of time. So Sherry comes back and tells him that they need him. So I don't know. What did you think about their relationship and the different relationships between these four and any of the villains we see? Yeah.
So like you know, again, the on again, off again between Dwight and Sherry is just, it's stale. You know, this is the end here. We should be, find some new ground to cover kind of thing, you know. And they had decided at the, you know, mid-season finale, we're done. You know, we cannot be together because these horrific things follow us. These, you know, and they agreed on that. They, you know what I'm saying? And I understand they were under a lot of, you know, with the loss of their son, Finch, that it was, exactly. But at the same time, it's very true. Every time they, you know, whatever. So I don't know. I just kind of feel like that would have, again, just, but my biggest thing with all of these characters was that why would three of them leave PADRE, who is going to be under attack by Troy and his group? I mean, to take three people who could fight away from that to go get one man that, I mean, sure, he's a survivor kind of thing, but what? And we, again, like you said, how far is this? How, you know, and I mean, even, you know, we were initially like, I know we were trying to, when the season began, everyone's trying to scramble around, trying to figure out where are they? But it seems as though they're close to Savannah or in that direction. So how are you getting clear up there, you know, that quickly. It just makes no sense, you know? And I know we don't want to see them traveling. I'm not saying that. We don't want to see an episode of somebody traveling from point A to point B.
Yeah.
But how are they doing things so quickly? And how did she know that? I mean, I suppose he could have told her, but if they weren't talking and things, how would she know where he went?
Right. Well, she could probably assume.
Yes, I suppose.
Went to his house.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's a far way to travel to on an assumption.
Yeah. So
yeah.
true.
So anyway, I just feel like it was, I mean, I understand they're trying to, there's, you know, June has her inner stuff she's trying to deal with, and Dove, you know, poor little thing, she's just lost. She doesn't know where she belongs kind of thing. So I get what they're doing with those two characters, and I guess they just did it to showcase those, maybe, you know, had them tag along with her so that they could, you know, shine that light on them and let them have their moment here towards the end kind of thing, which I don't have an issue with that necessarily. It's just the travel kind of thing. And the fact that you have Troy, who obviously is a madman, and he's, you know, who knows, he's just very, you don't know what he's going to do.
Right.
And so take 3 people who could stay and fight to go find one guy.
You're right.
So yeah, so that, but I mean, you know, June, I mean, I always like June a lot. I think she is a good, she, like everyone's made her mistakes in her past and her things like that. But especially like when she lost John and everything, it was just so heartbreaking, because who didn't, I mean, John Dory, you know, everybody loved him, you know? Yeah. And so it's really tough to see her going through all this when she has the skills, you know, things just didn't work out, you know, with Finch, but you know, she's got her skills and she is very knowledgeable, but she's lost her confidence and, you know, that sort of thing. So that, you know, it's hard to see June go through that, because I think she deserves a happy ending from all she's been through.
Yeah.
So that's tough. And we don't know Dove so well, so it's harder. I mean, she's a kid, so you kind of feel sorry for her, because you're like, oh, she's a little kid. I mean, I don't know how old she is for sure, but she's still young. And, you know, and her parent, you know, she doesn't know, you know, her parents or mom's dead, right? I think we found that out or whatever. Yeah. So, you know, it's kind of choppy the way they did it, but again, I don't know. My biggest problem is just the Dwight and Sherry thing and the travel that far. I mean, I'm trying not to be very negative about this. But.
I know. We had talked about it before we pressed record, how some of these storylines just aren't the best storylines. It's not written as well as we would hope. And of course, there's a lot of holes. I notice a lot of people flip-flopping as to, you know, what they're doing, what their goal is, you know, how they're going to get through this. When Sherry and Dwight had both said, you know, we are not good together, we are breaking up, I was like devastated for them, because I thought to myself, so this reminded me of when they reunited, when they actually had found each other, because it had been a long time. Dwight was looking for her, searching for her for many, many, many episodes, might have even been seasons. I don't even recall. But I remember the moment when they both saw each other and they ran together and they hugged. And I felt so genuinely happy for these characters. I thought, oh my gosh, their love has survived. It's so good. It's so strong. He was like, you know, just searching for her. But then after that, she was a little bit standoffish because she had this new group that she was with. And I was concerned about that. But then they worked their way through it. They found out she was going to have a child. And we thought, great, this is awesome. But then here we go into the time jump. And then we realize they can't even be a family because now, because of how PADRE was at that time and how they had to keep it under wraps, that Finch was their son and so forth. So they have gone through so much. And so to have them break up was not, I didn't like it. I'm like, no, these people, we've got to show how people stay together and how strong they can be. But yes, I understand that they had to play out their grief and walk away from each other. So even though I wasn't happy with what they said, what they did, I like that Sherry was the one still trying, that Sherry was the one still pushing for, you know, we have to do this for our son. And we're going to talk about it probably in the next episode that we talk about here. But I kept thinking to myself, all you can really have is hope. And all you can really do is honor the people that have passed. And that is what you do in real life, even though we don't really pinpoint it, talk about it because we're so busy doing our day-to-day things. But these people are living in an apocalyptic world. where life and death just happen. So there are a lot of ups and downs, and they do have to deal with so much. So I guess we had to see them go through this in a way, but it's at the same time, you're like, oh my goodness, really? Do we really have to see you go through all of this? Also, June, I want all happiness for June too. And I loved everything that you said. It reminded me of her relationship with John Dory. Yes, he was my favorite character, and they were so good together. And I feel like her storyline after him has been kind of up and down too, right? Because she is with Strand for a while, and you're like, why are you doing that? But she's trying to find her purpose now that she doesn't have him. And so, and then she's put to the test with PADRE of all of that they were doing with everybody, testing everybody, and she was losing so many people. So I guess we are just seeing them go through all of this, but yes. Do we wish it was written better and they had a better storyline? Yes, we do. And even her relationship with John Dory Sr. was pretty good too. Now she's just finding her way. And Dove, yeah, I don't know. I was kind of annoyed with Dove a little bit, maybe because I don't know her very well, but it just seemed odd that her being there with them and then saying the reason. Now, I may have missed this, but did she say the reason that she came with them was to get away entirely?
That's what which I was like, what? I thought, I didn't understand that. Yeah.
So that didn't,
because I'm positive that's what she said.
Yeah. So that didn't make any sense to me at all. And the fact that she's telling Dwight, look, you couldn't even save your son. Well, how could he? I don't, there wasn't even the opportunity to save him. There wasn't anything he could do. So I just thought that how it was written just didn't quite make sense all the time. And so you just kind of have to go with it, I suppose. Just like the whole fight that ensued with the walkers and how they go into this, I don't even know what you call it. What's the area that they go into to do the surgery? I'm not even sure. This furnace type.
Yeah, I guess I'm not sure. Yeah.
But I'm thinking it was just burning hot. How are they walking in there with not feeling the heat? I don't understand this part of it.
Yeah.
And that everything else fell down and that everybody else is dead. Why? Why are all the walkers on the ground? What happened to them? There was no explosion. There was no what? I don't get it. I don't get this part.
And that's why I feel like June and Dove's story could have been told back at PADRE. I mean, I guess you have to have something, some way for her to have lots of ways for people to get hurt, for her to be required to do this surgery kind of thing, and I just felt like that could have been taken care of somewhere else and again, been a better story.
Yeah. It could be that they wanted to highlight these actors because where else? I mean, we only have 2 more episodes and I'm sure it's going to be on this battle that is coming up. So I'm sure that they wanted to, finish off these characters and their storylines. I don't know. So they finally leave though together because Sherry's words do resonate with Dwight. And he finally understands that they do have to work together. And he finally says the words that he has said before. I mean, not specifically said before, but what I mean is his intention of them being together and, working for the greater good and just, and about telling June, I had asked you before, join us, our family, you're a part of us. And so I guess in that sense, maybe that's why the 3 of them were together, because they kind of showcased them together previously. So they are together. They are finally heading back to where everyone else is at. And so then that takes us into episode 10, keeping her alive. And so in the latest Fear the Walking Dead, Tracy's fate hangs in the balance, shuffled between Strand and the group in a battle for trust. Confrontations with Troy escalate, causing casualties. Madison and Strand's clash intensifies the group's internal tensions, setting the stage for an intense series finale marked with an uncertainty and division. So that was huge. What did you think of this episode, or what stood out to you?
So there's a lot of things that, that stood out, like, why they're fighting against each other when they should be, all coming together. everyone's kind of out for their own agenda kind of thing, when they have a common enemy, they should kind of be doing that, and like everyone not forgiving Strand. I understand you're not going to immediately forgive him, but maybe just listen more to what he has to say. Obviously, he's a survivor and he knows how to do these things. He's trying to redeem himself, and everyone else has done horrible things as well. So, like, why are we isolating him to be like everyone, that part was weird. And this whole Tracy thing, I just am so confused with this character because why would Troy tell this little girl all this stuff? She knows everything. Like, how does this little, I thought that was odd. And then, the one thing that really stood out to me in this episode is, what was the point of her mom? I understand giving her birth, but giving birth to her. But what was the point in the story? We don't know this woman. Her name's Lynn. I did find out. I don't know where that came from, but anyway. But, I didn't understand why this whole, I don't know. I have some thoughts later with another question you have that I'll explain more about what my thoughts are. But those are kind of like the initial thoughts of the episode is just, there's a lot of confusion on my part.
There is 100%. Everything you were saying, I'm nodding over here and yes, exactly. Because one, the biggest thing that I saw in this episode is the division of everybody following their own agenda, which was driving me crazy. Yes, of course you want to do what it is that you need to do, but not at the expense of everybody else. I feel like every single person is doing their own thing and it's just, not working. This is not working. And I found Tracy to be very annoying. Sorry. I know she's a little girl, but she's a little know-it-all. Yeah. And like you said, I even wrote in my notes, how is it that Troy shared so much information with this young girl? Like, how does she know? She claims to know Daniel and his whole backstory and telling him she knows Strand. She knows what Strand is, the type of person he is and what he's capable of. She knows everybody, what Madison has done. I'm thinking, what is this girl, an encyclopedia? How did she absorb all this? And why would he tell a little girl this? Also, side note, Troy does not seem that concerned about his daughter half the time. Maybe because he knows she's very resourceful. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because she seems to be taking care of herself, jumping off the boat and swimming with her hands tied. Like they were far away from land. So I'm sorry. I'm just spewing things because they're popping into my head of all these things that just, I'm thinking, I don't understand what is happening. How can this happen? But I also want to say, a really big highlight to me in this episode was Strand and how is he the good guy in all of this, which I had said near our question of the day, but that is exactly how I felt because I was like rooting for him so much in this episode, which is so bizarre. So let's move into the themes in this episode that we saw, because of course, the biggest one is trust and betrayal. And there's also the pursuit of redemption and moral dilemmas that everybody has to deal with. And we see the tensions rise as personal agendas clash within the group. So did any of these themes stick out to you? And if so, how and what did you see?
The first is like you said, the trust and betrayal. I feel like every single one of them has mostly betrayed one another or somehow or another, or, they're having issues trusting one another for some reason. All of a sudden, it's like, I know it's not all of a sudden because there was a 7-year jump there and they haven't been near. And in that time, they've all kind of steered their, whatever in the direction of their own end game or whatever. But yeah, it's just been all this betrayal. But then, you go like, Tracy, like a lot of the children in the Walking Dead universe was annoying. I agree. I wrote that too. And I said, I also she reminds me of Mo, how she's just capable of doing everything. Yeah. She can save herself. She can do these things. She can escape, and it's just.
Mo, though. I did like her.
So Mo, she was better. But I just mean, it's just how they both were like these little girls. Like they're like 8, I don't know, 10, whatever. So she betrays Madison, that's her, I see, see that in her, where she betrays Madison, says, oh, it's Alicia, but then there's her mom because you killed my mom, blah, blah, blah. And then we find out after, I feel like it was all like smoke and mirrors to get everyone to think that Alicia was her mother. And then they reveal, no, this is her mother. And that she just followed, Madison's "no one's gone till they're gone" mantra. That was why, you know what I mean? Like that's so dumb.
Yes.
That's why. I mean, so that's why Troy's mad at her for that part. You killed Tracy's mom because she followed your what?
Yes. What?
So that didn't make any sense. I mean, to me, that was a huge wasted chunk of time that they could have spent on another character developing, somebody we care about. We don't know who Lynn, Tracy's mom. We don't even know Tracy for that matter. So I get introducing maybe a daughter for him so that there was just some conflict in there. But the whole side story of this is just like, that's what we were waiting for. That's why it was such a letdown. But again, I think it's just like a way of them to like tease people along that it could be Alicia, many people, I initially thought that too. I thought, how would that work? Like, could she, and trying to piece that together to make Alicia Tracy's mom,
Yeah.
But that's not the case, evidently. But anyway, so that I just thought that was a weird offshoot when it didn't really build the story. And again, I thought that was very strange. And, and I feel like Strand, so another thing is with the redemption part, Strand, I feel like he's really trying, he's trying to make this new life for himself with Frank and Klaus. And he's trying to, Klaus, I think it is. I said the wrong name. Yeah, Klaus, I think. But, he's really trying, like, like we saw Negan do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that, and then, Madison when she was about to kill Tracy, I was like, what is she doing? She's completely gone off the rails. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I understand she is undergoing extreme duress, whatever, right? I mean, she is dealing with the loss of both of her children. And I can't even begin to fathom what that would be like. And then to add an apocalypse on top of it. So I as a mother, I feel for her, but what the heck? So you're going to kill this child. And it's like, what are you doing? So yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
Yes, a lot of stuff going on. Trust and betrayal. Yes, nobody trusts anybody else, especially Strand. I thought it was interesting. Like I said, Strand was really good in this episode. And when he was talking with June's giving him that, we know you and what you're capable of. And he's all, well, what about you? And he wasn't saying it like, well, what about you? I mean, he was saying, well, look at you. You've turned yourself around. You've done things that you are not proud of. We all have, which is true. They all have. They've all done things. So I can change too. And of course she says, well, then, now we need to start seeing it. And I kept saying, how is it that Strand is the voice of reason? How I just kept thinking to myself, why is everybody else just thinking that if they hand over Tracy, that Troy's not going to come find them? No, it has nothing to do with if Madison is there or if Strand is there. He wants what he wants. He's going to do what he does. I already knew this, just the way Strand knew this. So it's like, come on, people, just you're going to give away your only leverage. It's just not good. They're all, like I said, divided. They're all thinking this certain way. I just don't like that whole aspect of it. Also, in the moral dilemmas, I know I'm trying to think about everything that you were saying too. I want to keep on Strand for a second because, he keeps Alicia as his North Star. And he hasn't wavered in the last several episodes. Who's to say if there were more seasons, if he would or not. But right now, he hasn't wavered. He knows what he needs to do. And so he's the only one who is focused. No one else is focused. Everyone else is dealing with grief or loss or insanity, whatever they're dealing with. Everything, all the dynamics were just so interesting. Even when they didn't trust him any longer and they pushed him out of the car because Daniel and Madison, oh my gosh. And when Madison said that line that you loved from last week back to Daniel, something is fundamentally wrong with you, because Strand calls him out by saying, you are doing all of this because you want to avenge your daughter's death. That's why you're here. That's what you're doing. And then, of course, that's when Madison tells him that, which was, I'm thinking, it was funny to me just because we had talked about it, but I almost wish they hadn't used it because it makes the previous, that line in the previous episode just that stronger. So I'm like, oh my goodness, Madison. And of course they boot out Strand, and here he is fighting these other walkers when this vehicle happens upon them. Oh my gosh. So I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent again, because now these new characters are introduced. Why do you need new characters? I, for a minute, thought these are some old characters coming back. Yes, they're going to bring back some of our old characters. Perfect spot, right? Perfect time to put them in. But nope. That's not what they did. They brought in some new characters. Mind you, the new characters were fine, what they had to say. But this was your opportunity to bring in the people that were in the previous episodes that we had talked about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that's what you should have done. But back to the themes that we were exploring here. Madison, you're right. She was mad because Tracy was trying to kill her with her mother, or I'm just blown away. I was listening to you about how this woman, Lynn, is her mother. I kept thinking that really can't be her mother, can it? I mean, that really cannot be the reason. I can't imagine that Troy told his daughter, "Oh, your mom's dead," because she followed Madison's mantra. Yeah. That is the worst reason. And I didn't believe it until you're telling me right now, because I keep thinking this cannot be. This is just the lamest reason to try and kill Madison. I don't understand it. But okay, the only thing that seems, and I have it further down in my notes, but I'm just going to bring it up here. That medallion, that is Alicia's. Why is she wearing it? So it made me think that still Alicia had some influence, maybe she is the mom. Maybe they're just pretending it's this Lynn person. I don't know, because why would she wear this necklace? Why would that be important? Strand recognizes it, points it out. So this necklace has to mean something. What does it mean?
Yeah, and she seems to know so much about Alicia. Like, why does this little girl know so much about Alicia? Yeah, because I feel like there's something weird going on there, I don't know what it is, and yeah, it is very odd. and I had those same questions. I think later maybe the same area you were talking about where I was going to bring up the necklace. And I mean, obviously Strand, he pointed out and said, yeah, that's the one I gave Alicia. So we know it's hers.
You're right. Yeah.
So
I think it has us both a little bit flabbergasted of how, all these questions that we have that don't make sense. So we're not really sure where we're going with all of this and how really this is going to end. The other thing was that confrontation with Luciana. Okay. And again, it's more of that fracturing of this group, because Luciana in there says something, I want to protect my people. I'm not worried about PADRE. And I thought that was a really strange thing to say. And yes, I realize she wants to protect her people. They're the people that have been with her for 7 years, but you're not going to care about another community that your friends are at that are protecting children too. I mean, you want to protect all of this together, not be so separated.
And that's where she gets her supplies and her stuff from. So that's odd, because she's been pilfering from that to do her other stuff.
Yeah.
So you're going to let it fall. And then where are your resources going to come from? Troy's not giving them to you.
Right.
That's a very good point. I hadn't thought more deeply about that. But now that you mentioned, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So, and that's what I was going to say. So you see her draw Troy in because it looks as though she has just a few people backing her up. And then he comes with his people basically saying, look at us, we're a bigger group than you are. And she's all, oh no. And then everybody, of course, comes out, with their guns, and she, shows her hand, and they don't show anymore. Right. Then they jump to what's happening with Madison and Strand and all of them. But when they come back, we missed it all. We missed it all.
It's like, what happened?
Or this was the part that we should have seen, right? Is what happened. The fight that ensued here. And of course, that's when Luciana says, he was just fighting us. He didn't care if they died or not. They just wanted the vehicle and didn't care who got killed, because that just shows you Troy's true colors of not really caring about anybody. He just wants what he wants. Again, how did he escape when he's in the front and center and you got Daniel and Dwight and Sherry and Luciana all standing there with their guns and they couldn't shoot Troy? It just baffles my mind. So
I keep hoping that the writers are just leading us on this weird path, because the last 2 episodes are going to be phenomenal and it's going to all make sense. And I mean, I know that's high hopes, but I'm just like, come on.
I know. I hope so.
We need a good ending for this series.
I know. We do. We do. So in saying that, do you have any thoughts about how this will play out, or what you hope to see?
Well, I still feel like there needs to be something with Alicia. I don't think we're actually going to see her, and that's okay, I feel. But at the same time, she was, pretty important. This whole, again, like you were mentioning, Strand's been here the whole time, right. But she's gone now, so she hasn't been there in season 8, but she was still from the beginning, she's Madison's daughter and all this. So then I was wondering, are they going to honor her somehow? Because like I said, I don't think we're seeing Alicia, Deb, and Carrie coming. I don't see her showing up. It'd be cool if she did, but I'm fine either way, really. But like, are they going to do anything to honor her? Then I thought, well, wait a minute. Maybe those characters, was that what they were doing with those characters that came and they're living, they met Alicia, Alicia helped them, and they're passing that on. So I'm like, is that all we're going to get? So that's one thing I was curious about. And that, it's like, I feel like she deserves more than that. But at the same time, it was at least something, I guess. Yeah. I just don't know where it's going to go. And I don't know. I'm like afraid to watch the last 2 episodes just because I don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, so I just hope they all come together, and that could be what they're giving us all this confusion. They're giving us all these, everyone's out for themselves. And then maybe they're all going to come together and, defeat Troy. And so I have high hopes. That's my hope.
I have high hopes too. I do too. I really hope that they all get on the same page. I feel like I hope this is where we're heading. And I hope that's what they've been trying to show us, because when they have those moments after the episode where the showrunners are talking, writers,
the insider.
Yeah. I always want to hear them talk, because I want to know what they were thinking when they put this together. And of course, it's not very long, so we don't get that much insight. Yeah. But I know that they were saying that, Madison has gone to a really dark place here. And of course, she goes off with wanting none of their help. In fact, Strand is yelling, Madison, Madison. And I think even Daniel says, look, I can help you. And he could. I almost thought she was going to take Daniel up on him wanting to help her, because I can't remember the words that he says, but it made perfect sense, right? I thought, ooh, yes, Daniel is going to go with her. No, she's like, no, I'm going to do this on my own, because at the same time, she doesn't want to have, if something goes awry, she doesn't want to have any of that additional on her. She's already, feeling like she has the weight of the world on her. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. I'm just hoping that something comes out of this that's really, that's really good. When I saw, I'm going back again to the tank, or whatever you want to call it, the truck of the tank when it came. I had so many flashes of my mind. I even thought about Al for a second. I'm like, oh my God, could Al come back? Yeah. This is her car or her truck, And then, of course, I thought about Sarah and Wendell too. I thought, wait, maybe they got their hands on this and they're back on in now. No, it wasn't them either. So I don't know. I really hope I really hope, this is my biggest hope, that we get to see somebody, some of them, or somehow, some way, and even Alicia, and I know you said she probably most likely won't be shown here. God, would I love it. And, honestly, it wouldn't take much just to have them film a couple scenes, each of them, or all of, however, just to, see them again. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just hope that it's going to end on a really good note. And of course, I don't know if anybody wants to hear this with the trailers that are out there, but we do see, because I'm going to mention it now, we do see Troy's plan of bringing this Walker herd there. So what is his intention? Just to destroy it? Does he not want a place to live?
Yeah.
Which is so bizarre.
Because I saw that as well. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to let them attack and tear everything up. And
well, okay. So I want to backtrack a little bit here because I do have something that I want to just bring up to you just to see what you thought. So I thought it was interesting when Tracy brought them to the frozen walkers that were there, and Daniel kept saying, this guy's a long way from home. Something doesn't look right, Madison. We need to get out of here. We need to get out of here now. She's all, no, we're already here. Let's go. I got to get, put Alicia out of her misery. And also, I want to say about that walker that she thought was Alicia. Okay, that woman had really dark hair. Well, it didn't even look like Alicia. So, there's just that. But anyway, so I thought, why are they showcasing these walkers that don't look like they belong there? But then, of course, I don't know if they say that in here or we're led to believe it with the trailer, but it's basically that he brings these walkers and I think he's leaving them there, but then he's going to pick them up again when they thaw out.
Yeah, I didn't, because I kept thinking, it's kind of some kind of a trap kind of thing, something. I didn't, again, it's just so choppy. The whole, the storyline is just choppy. And maybe the last 2 episodes will
shed light
bring
on
some
it
insight
all.
To it. I don't,
But that's kind of what I gathered. Like he was bringing whatever hordes of walkers he has, bringing them together and managing them by having them frozen in this lake or river, that they're in until he meets them again, which is so bizarre. So bizarre. All right. That leads into, and the award goes to. So tell me, what was your favorite quote, character, or moment?
It took a lot of digging to find. I was like, what did I like? What was, and I guess I just liked the smart aleck comments, when Strand says to June, he's like, you've done a lot of things too, haven't you, Naomi? And he wasn't really mean about it, but he just reminded her, we know who you were when we met you, kind of thing. And then when Daniel or Madison throws that back at Daniel, I mean, it kind of, like you said, it kind of cheapened it a little bit, but at the same time, it was just kind of humorous that, okay. And on a side note with that, I saw Forbes. So the guy from Forbes, I can't think of his name right now.
Yes.
His whole shtick is he just wails. Did you see his headline?
Yes.
It says, Fear the Walking Dead. There's something fundamentally wrong with this series. And I lost it.
I did too. I
don't generally.
Eric?
Sometimes his stuff is. Yes, there you go. I was thinking Eric, but I couldn't for sure. But Eric Kane, I believe that's right. So, you read his stuff and he's really negative, but he's not off base all the time. I mean, there's times I'm like, yeah, that's exactly right kind of thing. But anyway, the headline was outstanding. So I'll give him credit for that.
That's so funny because I saw that too. And I thought, oh, wow, that was great. That was brilliant of him to bring that up.
Like, I wish I would have thought of that, man.
I know. That was so good. So actually, I really want to give it to Strand because he was so good in this episode. And two different moments that really stuck out to me was on the boat. When he was on that boat
Mm-hmm.
And he's trying to figure out what he's going to do. And he pulls off her mask and says, look around, look where you're at. And he's all, look, we can't take it back now. And then she jumps off, and then he runs, tears off his vines on his hand, messes up the electrical, and then jumps. The way he jumped off that boat, I like cheered for him. I'm like, you go, Strand. This is amazing. I'm like, when am I ever cheering for Strand against all these other characters that I really do like a lot? But it was just so perfect. It was so perfect. And just how he has been this particular episode, he really shined for me. And I loved it when he said, when he tells Madison, when he has Tracy and he comes to Madison, and Madison has that moment where she puts the loud music and she's banging up all the walkers. He tells her what he's done, and then the girl mouths off all the what she says he's done. Well, he kidnapped me and da 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 da. And then Strand says, okay, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. Oh my God, that line just killed me. I'm like, that is perfect, Strand. Perfect line. So I just really appreciated him in this episode and the last episodes. And also just, we've talked about Coleman Domingo and what a great actor he is. So I'm glad he gets to, be the highlight of this episode. All right.
Well, I want to see him in an action flick now.
That would be good. Yeah. And I'm so glad you brought up, his husband, and they barely showed Klaus. They only showed him at the very beginning, teaching those students as if he's, kind of a mentor to them. Yeah. So it was kind of cool that they at least showed him, but I'm like, okay. Yeah. They didn't give him too much anyway. So I'm glad you brought him up, because I like him. I actually like that actor. I'm like, shoot, they should have brought him in earlier and showed more of him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have 2 episodes premiering Sunday, and we'll see the ending, and we'll be back next week to talk about that. So I'm really excited. I am excited to see what happens, and I really hope they pull it off.
Yeah.
All right, friends out there, let us know what your favorite moment from this episode is, because we would love to know. And now we're going to shift into our TV and movie recommendations. I have actually quite a few. I'm just going to highlight a couple of mine and name the rest, but let me know what you are watching, Renee.
So I watched first episode of The Buccaneers. I'm always a sucker for a good period piece. And I don't know. Well, I'll let you know after I watch some more episodes. To me, it seemed like it was trying too hard to be Bridgerton, and not successful. I mean, there's very interesting characters, so I'm kind of excited. Okay, what happens next? So I will be continuing on. So I'll report back on that one. And then the Taylor Sheridan, the new series from him called Lawmen, Reeves is out. And I watched the first episode of that as well, which is really cool because Margot Bingham, who played Max, is in it, and from The Walking Dead. So that was cool. I mean, I knew she was in it, but it was just fun to see her. But, this is a really interesting story because Bass Reeves was a former slave who becomes the first Black U.S. Marshal and things. So it's based on, true story. And I think this whole series, from what I understood, it's like Lawmen, Bass Reeves. So he's going to do a series of Lawmen type, maybe just limited series, I think is what this is. That's the way I understood it. It altered from what it originally began, and now that's from what I understand. So the first episode was outstanding. It was so good, so interesting. And I read some historical tie-ins from some other articles and things. So so I recommend that, especially if you like Taylor Sheridan and the Western type things. It's really really good. And then I started watching 6 Feet Under. Have you ever watched that?
I haven't.
It's older. I can't even tell you when it came out, but the guy who plays Dexter, my brain, I just can't even think of a name right now, but he's in it, and there's good cast and stuff like that. So it's their family. They're like a family of mortician kind of thing, and anyway, it's funny. It's a comedy, and I just, again, watched the first episode of that. But it's an older one, so I'm sure a lot of people have already watched it. And then movies, we watched the newest installment of Insidious, the Insidious Red Door. We finally got around to watching that. And I liked it. I really did. I wasn't sure. You just never know with these as they continue.
Right.
But it follows the events of I think the chapter 2, what it was, but it's I guess I'm not sure exactly how many years later it is, but the son's in college now. And he takes him to college and they don't remember what happened and things. And so anyway, I thought they did a good job with it. And then I started rewatching all the Hunger Games because the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes comes out this weekend. And so I'm anticipating that because I absolutely loved the book. And it's like an origin story of President Snow. So it's, really good. So I cannot wait to see it.
Fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So I have not watched the Buccaneers. So I don't know if I want to now after your...
let me get into it more and then I'll let you.
Okay. Now, I also watched the first episode of Lawmen Bass Reeves, and I didn't write it down as one of mine because I wanted to get more into it. But I will say I loved the first episode. Yes. I love the way Tyler Sheridan, all of his stories, all of his series, but they've all been really good. So I knew I wanted to watch it. So I've only watched one episode too, and I agree with you. I love it. But wait, is Margot Bingham in that first episode?
I thought it was, because I thought we only watched, unless maybe, did we?
I'll have to go back and maybe I didn't.
She was the mother. She was mother of that little boy.
Oh, okay. So I just didn't recognize.
She looks very different. Yeah. She just looks very different. Well, it's the whole Clark Kent thing. She wears glasses on The Walking Dead. She doesn't have glasses on, so you don't know who she is. But yeah, she just looks very different. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah. But I really enjoyed it. So I would recommend that too. And I want to see Insidious. So I'm glad that you like that. So, all right. For me, okay. So, I love my reality shows and I'm watching Selling Sunset season 7 on Netflix. Oh my gosh. I binged it over the weekend when it was out because I'm like, I'm there. It was so good. And I think today, as we're recording this, is a reunion. So I know what I'm doing later on this evening, but I'm really excited. I just love it. I'm just all there for the drama. It's so good. It is really good. So if you like reality shows and you haven't checked this out, check it out because there's a lot of drama. So it's very well done. Anyways, also, I started Lessons in Chemistry, which is on Apple TV, and this is with Brie Larson. And it's about a woman scientist in the 50s and dealing with all of that, living in a man's world and just trying to be a scientist, just trying to, do what you love. I watched it because two of my coworkers had seen it and said they absolutely loved it. So that night I went and sat and I watched, in 2 nights I caught up. And when I was, when I was caught up, I thought, wait a minute, I want to watch more. So I am really loving it so far. So please check that out if you have not seen it. It's really good. Now for movies, I saw the movie Fingernails, and this is on Apple TV. It's with Jessie Buckley, Riz Ahmed, and Jeremy Allen White. So I love these actors. I actually went in without knowing anything about it. It's probably a good thing I did that. It's very odd. This movie is very, very odd. And I did hear some feedback from people that they weren't a fan of it, but this movie has stayed with me. And when movies stay with me, that means I like them because there's something about it that intrigues me, that kept me gripped. So I would say if you like movies that really have really great acting and have a deeper meaning about them, then you will appreciate this. But if you're looking for just fluff or just, it's not that, but I like it. So,
is it like a drama or?
Well, it is, but okay. So let me give you this bit of information. It's set in what appears to be like maybe 80s-ish, just because of the feel of it. Nobody has cell phones. Nobody's on their computer. Nothing like that. Okay. But it's a futuristic idea because what happens is this device using people's fingernails, a couple. Okay. So let's say we're in love, Renee. We love each other. We would take our fingernails off, take them off. put them in this little machine, this little device, like looks like a microwave, and you press it, and the results will tell you if we are compatible. And if we are, then we know we're going to be together for the rest of our lives, and we don't have to do anything else. That's just the way life is.
Oh my goodness.
So that is the premise of this movie.
Interesting.
So even though it's not comical, it has this kind of dark humor behind it because of what it is. So, and you have all these actors in it that are amazing. So it's just very interesting. So I would say check that out if you like that premise. So I also watched another movie that is a little bit different, and that is The Killer on Netflix with Michael Fassbender, and it is directed by David Fincher. So if you're aware of David Fincher and the way he is can be very stylized and how he puts out his films, I really enjoyed it, but it almost feels like a look into an assassin's life and kind of like his inner dialogue and how he goes about what he's going to do. So it's interesting because my husband watched it with me, and my son happened to be watching it with us. My husband thought, this is a little bit slow. And my son thought, this is super intriguing. So that just goes to show you different, how different people view a movie. So I liked it, but it is different also.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to bring up is Sly Stallone's, or it's called Sly. It's a documentary on Netflix. It's about Sylvester Stallone. I'm a huge Sylvester Stallone fan. And so if you are too, then I would say check this out because it's only 90 minutes and it's a fun watch. I shouldn't say fun watch. It's fun because I love him, but you learn about his history with his father and his brother, which I think fuels his motivation in life and how he deals with his own family and his own choices that he makes to make it in films. So I really enjoyed it. There's that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So friends out there, that's what we have for you for TV and movie recommendations. And also, I want to let you know that Screens in Focus does have a Google Voice where you can leave a message. So if you ever want to leave us your recommendations or any thoughts and you don't want to do it on social media, you can always call us at 669-223-8542. But of course, you can get to all our social media at screensinfocus.com. Thank you, Renee, for joining me today. And I can't wait to next week to talk about the finale of Fear the Walking Dead.
And thank you for having me. As always, I love our conversations. We never know where they're going to go.
Yes. We always learn something, right? We always learn something from each other. So I love it. I love it. So thank you so much. And friends out there, thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in because we love that you join us in on these conversations. So thank you for tuning in. We are so grateful for you. And we hope that something we said today resonated with you, gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, some inspiration. Please subscribe to our website at screensinfocus.com and tell a friend. We would love more members of our TV club. I want to remind you to keep watching, keep exploring, and keep those screens in focus. And we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.